Hey guys, it's Danny. Alrighty, today we're gonna make some requested updates. So I have my little list prepared here. I went through the comments and I picked the orchids you guys wanted to see. Hopefully I will cover everything, but if not, just leave me a comment down below with the orchids that you'd like to see in the next requested video. Actually, requested updates. Alrighty, so let's get to the updates. Alrighty, so first off we have the Lycaste aromatica, which I believe at least one of you wanted to see. So here she is. If you don't remember a lot about this orchid, she was one of the ICU orchids. I received two back bulbs from Anna Maria, and last year they created this bulb and this bulb. This one looks pretty awful and undeveloped, but it is the one that is creating a flower spike. Only one. But both of them are creating new growth, and I'm expecting this one to do a lot better than the previous growth last year. Root-wise, this orchid created a lot of roots, and I know they look a little scary, but on the Lycaste aromatica, the roots are naturally black. They're not even brown. So the root system is viable and it's okay. It's just how it looks like. So yeah, the orchid is doing okay this year. We will not have an impressive bloom show, sadly, but that's okay. Hopefully I'll treat her better this year. She will get more adjusted and do a full bounce back next year. Alrighty, next up, the anosmum cross. This is my Dendrobium anosmum crossed with cretaceum. It is in bloom, as you can see, and probably you've seen it in recent videos as well. It has finally bloomed after 2 years since the last blooming, and the flowers are pretty big. So the orchid is doing quite well. It has already started new growth on the top, but I am waiting for the flowers to fade away, and then I will repot it. And with this guy, I intend to add slow release fertilizer to the mix, just a little bit, because he is a heavy feeder, and in all of this time that I had him, I didn't really care for him properly, and I suspect I didn't feed him enough and also water him enough, so the new setup should be okay. About the flowers, we're going to talk more in the What's in Bloom video, but they do smell better than they smelled initially when this guy first bloomed. So at the time I told you that it smells like cranberry, and indeed everybody describes the fragrance as cranberry, but this time it's a little bit different. It still has the sweetness of the cranberry and also the sourness, but this time, more than anything else, it smells to me like Christmas. Why? Well, because it smells like lemon peels and also Christmas tree. I'm not sure about its name in English, so I'm just gonna call it a Christmas tree. So yeah, it smells a little like coniferous foliage. It's amazing. I love it. It's not very powerful though. So I am on the market for a pure anosmum. This is a hybrid, and the cretaceum might influence the fragrance. But since we're on the subject, I do have another, I just stepped on a leaf, it made so much noise. So I have another very popular Dendrobium species. This is the parishii, which yet again smells beautiful, and you might know the famous cross between the anosmum and the parishii, which is called Nestor. Smells beautiful, at least that's what people say, so I was really interested to smell the parishii as well. My parishii is not a good boy, but this one that I recently purchased last year is creating buds. Therefore, I didn't unmount it, but when the flowers are done and everything, I will unmount it and pot it up. It also has a beautiful new growth here. I find him vigorous, quite vigorous. And look at that amount of budding. So I'm surprised. He was a little stressed last year because of the change, but we will have flowers from the parishii as well, and we will compare the fragrances. Next up, somebody asked me about the Paraphalaenopsis. Well, she just started vegetative growth. She is producing new roots. There aren't a lot of roots in the pot, not yet, but I do see 2 new roots starting to go down in the pot. So that's good. Now, ever since I purchased this one, it matured this leaf, which was really not this long when I purchased it, so it grew, and now it is producing this leaf, which, fingers crossed, will be bigger than this one, and we'll have a mature orchid in 2 or 3 years, because this is a seedling. This orchid gets very tall, or actually, should I say long, before it is capable to bloom. So I'm eagerly expecting her to get matured, but so far she's growing quite fast. Of course, in orchid terms, I'm really happy with her evolution, and she prefers being potted than mounted, simply because I just don't do good with mounted orchids. I tend to mistreat them, not water them, forget about them. I cannot control that part of me, so potted it is. Okay, next up, you wanted to see the Phalaenopsis keikis. So first of all, this one, if you remember a while back, somebody gave me 2 dead orchids to save. I couldn't save them, but one of the orchids had some keikis. I'll link you down below to that video if you missed it. So one of the keikis didn't make it. The one that was really tiny, didn't really have roots. I expected him to die off, and that's what he did. But the second one is doing nice. He is creating quite the abundance of roots at the moment. He also grew this leaf and is working on another one. The tiny leaf is to be expected. This was a seriously stressed out orchid, but I think he will be just fine, and I'm looking forward to the blooms. I have no idea what he is. And also, this is the keiki of my weird Phalaenopsis that I had last year with an infestation of mealybugs. She also didn't have roots, she was dehydrated. She was in a bad way, but I managed to save one of the keikis. Instead of roots, she decided to produce keikis, and this is one of them. He is bouncing back as best as he can. You can see that the leaves are pinched at the end. It's just dehydration. For being a complex hybrid phal, which is not tiny, this guy needs more hydration, more nutrients, and the current root system cannot really keep up with the growth. But that's okay, it will be corrected when the new root system will be substantial enough. Right now, I cannot really expect much. But yeah, this is how the keikis are doing. They are doing okay. I think these orchids were saved. Next up, the Maxillaria tenuifolia that I think you've already seen in bloom. Somebody asked me about how hardy this orchid is and what they should do with a stressed Maxillaria. Well, pretty much nothing. This is a very hardy orchid. So here's the update on mine. It produced one bloom that smells like coconut and peaches to me. I don't know why, that's just me. But also the orchid started to create roots. I've seen one down there, and probably there are more roots in the sheaths. I don't suspect this orchid will bloom anymore this year because it's already starting new growth, and it has a lot of new growth developing. It will pretty much mature this year, and hopefully next spring it will bloom again. But there we go. The Maxillaria tenuifolia is really easy to propagate. All you need to do is cut one of these rhizomes, pluck them in medium, and maintain at least the top of the medium pretty moist, and that's it. You don't really need to do anything else. She's very hardy, so don't worry about your Maxillaria. Pretty soon it will start to create new roots. Next up, the vanilla planifolia that you guys really like to see often. Dun, ta -dun, ta -dun. Alrighty, we're almost at the top, and now it's time to think about what the heck am I gonna do next. So I really don't know. Now, the tendency of this orchid will of course be to climb up, so I'm not sure if I can make it go on the other side. It might just turn around and start to grow up once again, so I need to think of something. I do kind of like the fact that this retains a little bit of water. It has aerial roots on this rod that I do water frequently and I fertilize. It also has roots that are terrestrial, so I would prefer a stake or rod or something that has some sort of material on it. And as I see, there are no longer rods, but I'll see. I'll improvise probably something. I'm not sure if I want to go in organic with this one. And of course, I don't want to detach it from the current rod. So yeah, I have a little bit more time to think about it. Not entirely sure what I'm going to do now. The other piece has branched out kinda. If you see here, the tip has two growing tips. So this little cutting is doing okay as well, and at some point I was seeing something on the leaves. If you can see, there's a little bit of a nubbin here, and I thought, oh my goodness, buds, because this is actually where buds are coming from. But no, this orchid is very tiny, and with a bit of luck she'll probably bloom when she's a few meters long. So no, not anytime soon, and not this year. But yeah, at some point I saw them. I think this is a better one. I saw them and I thought, oh wow, she's gonna bloom. No, no, she's not. But just as an FYI, yeah, this is where buds start to form. Next, a little update on the Vandas. Well, as you can see, they're doing a lot better than last year when I tried to pot them up. Bad idea. I'll never try to do that with Vandas. It just doesn't really work for me. I'm not saying it never works, you just need to be very careful with the medium. And in organic, or actually Ceramis and Lycaste, they didn't go well for me. But they're doing great bare-rooted. The Vanda Pachara Delight has bloomed. It doesn't have as many flowers as it did in the past, but it's understandable. Pretty much everybody's bouncing back, looking okay. That's the one that I messed up the most. She's gonna be okay. We have buds on the Pachara Pink as well. She has a really nice root system at the moment. This is the orange one that I recently purchased. Oh, and one is soaking, two are soaking, the Renanthera and the Rhynchoridis. They're soaking right now, they're doing okay, so the Vandas really do prefer to stay like this, at least for me, so I think the experiments with potted Vandas shall come to an end. I really don't want to do it again, because the consequences were really not to my liking. The Pachara, which blooms 3 times a year for me, did not bloom at all last year. That wasn't funny. And not to mention the other ones. I think I only got blooms from the pink one, and that's because she was well treated before I arrived here. Other than that, just no. So potted Vandas, not for me. If it works for you, that's good. I just find it way too tricky with the conditions that I have right now. And one of my viewers wanted to see both the Mini Mark and the Liodoro. So let's start with the Mini Marks. I have two. This is the recent one my mom sent me, and yay, he's in bloom. He's such a pretty boy, isn't he? And this is my older Mini Mark, which is still recovering, still showing signs of the orchid fleck virus. And don't worry, it's not gonna transmit if they're just sitting close to each other. The orchid fleck virus mainly is transmitted by spider mites, and I don't have any spider mites anymore. And this is a good indication. Having these two orchids so close to each other, one having the disease and one not showing any signs of the disease, is a clear sign that I don't have spider mites anymore. In any case, he will take a lot of time to bounce back. Just look at this old leaf. I'm not giving up on him. He's a beautiful boy. I'm surprised this one bloomed because he created flower spikes from the very same places in which he already had flower spikes last year in the autumn. So that's a little bit of an overkill, honey. Take some time off, grow some roots, grow some leaves. Well, roots are growing, leaves not yet, but I think he's healthy. I think he's okay. And of course, the flowers are beautiful. However, it's not fragrant. I'm not sure if I will ever find a fragrant Mini Mark, but they're out there, so keep your hopes high. So now let's see the Liodoro. And what can we say about the Liodoro? You've seen her in my recent videos. She is pretty much in full bloom. I always wondered if this orchid is a sequential bloomer. Yes, it is. Look at this. She's preparing another bud here. These flowers appeared from an already existing, oh no, this is a branch, but these flowers were created on an already existing flower spikes. So yes, I do believe it is a sequential bloomer. My previous Liodoro didn't hang on to her flower spikes, but then again, she had two keikis and a total of 7 spikes. So maybe it was a little bit too much for her, and that's why she gave up the flower spikes. But I intend to keep these flower spikes as they are, never cut them unless they go dry, and see what happens. I think it really is a sequential bloomer because one of her parents, Violacea, surely is. Oh, P.S. I really need to buy Violacea, don't I? I have the Bellina, I just don't have the Violacea, and I should have one. And let's make an update on the Zygopetalum as well, but it's not interesting, you guys. Nothing much is happening. She's, or actually he, is surviving. This is last year's growth. This is the new growth. It's not gonna bloom. It doesn't look super spectacular, but it's not dead, so I'm hanging on to this guy. It's the first that it didn't die in so long, but it's not interesting. Trust me, when something interesting happens to the Zygopetalum, I'll surely notify you because it's gonna be a world premiere for me not to kill a zygo. But until then, there's really not much to see. Sorry, pretty disappointed. I do, however, have a plan. If I ever find another Zygopetalum, I'm gonna try something with it. But until then, we're just gonna see how this one will evolve. And lastly, my Cymbidiums. We're not gonna stay here long because it's always very noisy. So yeah, they're still alive. They're on my terrace right now because they are actually garden orchids. Oh, and P.S., those are the cacti seedlings. They're still growing. So what I did with these guys, I didn't repot them. That's rain damage, by the way. I really kind of don't want to risk Ceramis and inorganic at this moment because I just want to learn a bit more about them, at least grow them for a year and then see what to do. So I didn't repot them. I just added slow release fertilizer and I'm just watering them with plain water. So this year they will not get repotted. They will sit on my terrace. So far they are handling the heat very well. Extremely well. They do receive direct sunshine as well. So next year we'll see what to do. Maybe I will pot them in soil once again, maybe not. These guys are a little expensive, so I really don't want to experiment much on them, particularly that I'm not comfortable with knowing too much about them or how to grow them. So that's what I'm doing. I'm still learning them. But they're doing okay. They didn't die, so that's a good sign. And that's about it on the requested updates. And you guys were saying that you want more videos with the phals. Don't worry, you're gonna see them for quite a while from now because they're probably gonna be in bloom for a few months. And right now I still have a few opening up, pinky one and a really interesting color on this one. When the buds started to open, I thought it would be exactly like this one, but it's not. It has a very interesting color to it. It's one of those that I've never seen in bloom because I received to save. and I saved. So there we go. Don't worry, the Phalaenopsis will be ever present in the following videos. You'll get bored of them, trust me. So alrighty guys, thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this. Yet again, if you want to see particular orchids that you didn't see in a long time, just leave me a comment down below, and in my next requested videos, I'll be sure to mention them. So if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe to my channel for regular orchids and plants videos, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. And with that said, I'll see you all next time. Bye! Now you might have been waiting to see speciosa flowers. Yeah, so am I. What's happening is that this was not a bud, it was a branch, and also it doesn't really want to mature any buds at the moment. The flower spikes have started to grow yet again, but there are no buds being formed. So I suspect it's gonna be somewhere in the summer, not yet, but this orchid has created or started to grow roots, so that's a good sign. Flowers though, it's gonna still take a while.